It is Friday the 23rd, and I have to do some squats today. I'm kind of looking forward to that, and I'm also kind of terrified of it. We're getting to that point of the process where it's like do or die, you know what I mean? What is today's topic about? I wanted to talk about some things that could possibly be holding you back. I know it's held me back in the past. Some basic, simple truths about taking up any endeavor, or maybe a fear of trying something new, putting yourself out there, doing something where you think you might look foolish, and preventing yourself from taking those risks because you're afraid of the opinions of other people. I know I certainly was for a long time about a lot of things. So here it is. You ready for the profound philosophical statement that's going to change your life? You're going to have to be bad before you're good. You know, a lot of you are like, no shit. Like, okay, how's that news? Well, think about it. You know, if I told you right now, like if I challenged you to do something that you've never done before, would you do it? Would you go online and do it? And would it risk looking bad? Would you put yourself out there? Would you try something? Or do you only stick to the things that you're really good at because you don't want to hear the negative opinions of other people? And, you know, a lot of us, you know, we kind of deal with that, especially in the online community. If you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to criticism, and it can get kind of ugly sometimes. But don't let that hold you back. It's about acceptance. It's about accepting the fact that we're not going to be perfect. I've been powerlifting well over 10 years now, and I am still learning. Like right now, I have somebody retooling my squat because after all these years, I've been doing it wrong. And you know what? I consider myself an expert when it comes to body mechanics. Like I'm a guy that would help coach the 3 compound lifts. And it's almost easier for me to teach than to do it. And I think that's often true in a lot of cases. You just got to accept the fact that you're going to be bad. But the question comes up, what's your hurry? You know what I mean? Like, why are we in such a hurry to present ourselves as experts at stuff? You know, for me, it depends on what your motivations are for doing what you're doing. Like, really, this is something I really want you to consider. Do you actually love the process? You know what I mean? Do you love the grind? Most of us, we want to get to the end game where we're considered competent and we're respected by our peers. And, you know, it's a grind, like learning boxing, kickboxing, all that. Back in the day, I think I had the most fun because I was completely ignorant as to how bad I actually was. We didn't have YouTube. We couldn't go online and see videos of, you know, experts training and doing all this cool stuff. We were out there just swinging, you know what I mean? We would just get in the ring and beat the crap out of each other. And you have a limited pool of talent, let's say. You know, you have the group of guys that you are, you know, you're in your platoon or whatever, and you see them every single day, and you maybe you get with the guys in the regiment, and maybe other, you know, division people, they meet up. And while there is a significant number of people that participate, it isn't like, you know, online when YouTube, like if you go plug in kickboxing and it comes up with, you know, 100,000 videos of all skill levels across the board. We had no idea how bad we were, and we had an absolute blast. Ignorance is bliss. It was the same thing with powerlifting. When I took powerlifting up, my first meet, I was the oldest guy there, and I got all this attention and all these accolades, and everybody told me how awesome I was. And it wasn't long before I started to think that I was really something special. I really did. It wasn't until I went to, the little fish went to a bigger pond, that I realized, like, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it really kind of sapped the joy out of it. You know, I was so happy in my little pond where I thought I was something special. And then I go and find out, like, I'm not even mediocre. That's a bummer, you know, especially after you get into feeling like you're doing something. As with all things, it's kind of, ignorance is bliss, man. You have no idea how bad you are. Like when I was playing the drums, as a kid, I used to bang on these pie tins, and, you know, we had our garage band, and we would rock out, and there was always that one guy that's really awesome, and maybe there's a couple other people that play the drums, but there's 4 or 5 of us, and I thought I was pretty good. And it wasn't until I got out in the world and I started listening to real musicians and really digging into it to see how this thing's done, and where I realized, like, I'm not even a novice. I'm sub-novice. I don't even play the drums. I have a drum set. That's where I'm at with it. It's like, do you play the drums? You see, you got a nice kit there. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I own that. Do I play them? I bang on them. I know my neighbors. Just with anything, you just pick the sticks up, start playing, and then after a few months, you get a couple of beats down, and you can play along with a few songs. And after a year, you're actually competent, and you can play along with a band. And it's just the same thing with everything. There's a process to it. I don't know why I decided after all these years to put them damn gloves on, but I got to thinking, you know what? I'm in pretty good shape for my age. I'd like to get out there. I was watching my son train at Syndicate, and of course, watching his classes, I started to think, I could be pretty good at this. I used to do this back in the day. Did you really? You think you were doing it back in the day, but were you really? Oh, man. With kickboxing, I started to consult a coach on the weekends. And they broke the training down into basically 3 facets. It was striking, footwork, defense. And each one of those had like a million things before you could go from barely competent to what would be considered an expert. And then it comes down to time. We all work full time, and sometimes it's really hard to stay motivated. After a long day's work, you come home, you don't want to train. Well, my attack or my approach to it was, rather than try to learn one thing, I would take a little bit from each and kind of spread it out. That way there wasn't so many holes in my training. With powerlifting, a little bit different, because I had been doing it for so long. I would consider myself a competent lifter. I mean, the fact of the matter is despite whatever level of expertise I might have had, I was competing at the highest levels. So that could be just the brute monkey strength or the fact that I was competent. But I would say I don't give myself enough credit. I'm a much more skilled lifter than what I think I am. But for me, the big thing is I had to be teachable. You do something for so long, and your peers might consider you an expert, and you might start thinking you're an expert. It can be really hard to admit that you need help and to ask somebody for that help. And it could be somebody that doesn't even have your skill set. He might have some knowledge of some things that you don't have. And you can't be afraid of what other people are going to say if you ask someone for help, because you're going to hold yourself back. And that's kind of where I was at with the whole thing. Is I just got to a point where I realized that I don't have the knowledge. If you don't know something, you can't teach yourself how to fix it. The YouTube's awesome. You can go online and you can look up pretty much how to do anything. I've watched a million squat videos, but the bottom line is it was really difficult to translate online videos into my own mechanics. When you're under the barbell, let's say, you're feeling your body, you're doing your squats, you got your camera set up so you can see what you look like. Everything feels great. You're doing what you think you're supposed to do, and then you go to the camera and you realize that I'm not getting it. I'm just not getting it. So it's really beneficial to get another set of eyes, to get other people involved that can watch you do what you're doing and correct you. And that's been my approach to pretty much just about everything I'm trying. The bottom line is I love to try new things out. So I have that kind of innate built-in curiosity. And I see something I want to do, I'm going to try to do it. Bottom line. And I also don't really care if I look like an idiot. We all kind of have like self-esteem and pride issues, but when it comes to making an ass out of myself, like I don't care about. Like I'm actually kind of trying to do that anyways. If you think about it, like that's sort of my gig, So to circle it all back, accept the fact that you're bad, learn to love the process, ask for help, and try to be consistent. And if you really, really practice acceptance, just accept the fact that you are where you're at, but don't really concern yourself so much with the outcome. Just really dive into the process and learn to love it. You're going to improve, and you won't notice it before other people will. Other people will see the change in you way before you do. I don't know when you cross that threshold from being bad to good. Sometimes it's super frustrating. A really good example would be these Warhammer figurines that my son and I like to paint. If you can see that bad boy. Focus. We love Warhammer. We love the art. You go online and you look up like the professional artists that do the figurines, and they look amazing. And my son and I are like, yeah, we want that. So we went out and spent thousands of dollars and bought a ton of Warhammer figurines. And then you're learning how to paint them. It's very difficult. And my son, he doesn't really enjoy the process. He wants to get to the finished product. So he has a tendency to rush his paint. I'm a little more patient. My problem is I keep going over and over and over again until the paint's so thick it looks like crap, and then I got to take thinner and wipe it all off. But I really enjoy the process of learning, where he wants to more get to the finished product. We both have the same love. We both want really awesome armies so we can fight each other. But he doesn't love the process. He just wants the finished product. And if you're one of those people, if you just don't have the patience to really learn, maybe, like in this instance, maybe you hire somebody to paint them for you, and then you have a really badass army. And is that cheating? I don't know. If you're not interested in painting, well, why paint? For me, I love to learn how to do different things. So as frustrating as it has been, and it's been super frustrating, if I look at the ones that I started when we first bought them to the ones that I'm doing now, there's been a significant change in quality and skill. It almost makes me want to go back and do all the old ones over again. Well, it's the same thing with anything. Like if you watch these boxing videos, I have a playlist called Warrior Stuff. And it kind of shows when I put the gloves back on, and I first bought a little 50-pound heavy bag. And I was all excited, man. I'm like, yeah, here we go. I'm getting back into it. And I can barely watch those videos, how bad I am. But in my mind, I thought I was pretty good. I really did. It wasn't until I started, getting criticism from other people and watching other videos, and then going to gyms and seeing how other people do it, and really digging in and learning the techniques and trying to find out where I'm doing it wrong, and just the frustrating fact that I'm also almost 50 and my body is fighting me and it doesn't want to do what I ask it to. I said kick and I freaking fall over, and it's just super frustrating, and my coordination's going away, and it's just this constant frustrating fight. I don't have the flexibility. Just out there stretching for hours at a time just to be able to kick a little bit higher. It's a super frustrating, slow, technical process, but I'm getting better. I am definitively better now than I was when I started. How much better? That's, hard to say. I guess that depends on your level of expertise and how critical you are. But I still think I suck. I think I'm awful at everything that I do. I'm really hard on myself. I don't know where I got that from. I didn't have much encouragement growing up. My mommy and daddy didn't love me. But yeah, I honestly am one of those guys that is super critical and I don't think I'm good at anything that I do. So I have this relentless pursuit of perfection that is just not obtainable. And sometimes you got to take a step back, and also we've accepted the fact that we're going to be bad before we're good. Now we're learning to love the process. Awesome. We're dedicating ourselves to it. But every once in a while, take a step back, take a snapshot, and see how far you've come. Save those old videos. Compare yourself to when you first started. I go back and just creating videos, doing video editing. I go back and watch my first few videos, and they're horrible. I can hardly listen to them. Why do you keep them up on your playlist? I do that so that anybody that's trying to start YouTube can kind of see, and they can compare, like, from where you're starting and where you're at. If you're self-taught like me and you don't have people that are helping you out, I think it can be beneficial to, watch the starting point and see where we're at now, so that you can see the growth and the difference along the way. And I do that with lifting, I do that with my videos, I do that with my Warhammer figurines, I do that with my boxing, I do that with my drumming, I do it with everything that I do. Every single endeavor I do, I kind of keep a timeline so I can go back and compare. With lifting, we keep all of our data on spreadsheets. I don't know if you guys do, but I do. I'm one of those guys. I'm data driven, so I can literally go back 3 years ago and plot a graph to see how far I've come or where I've fallen off. You can see where injuries occurred, what supplements I'm taking, was I on PEDs at this point, was I, whatever. You can kind of correlate everything. That's the way I am. So I'm one of those guys. I'm not very sentimental, but I do like the data, which makes me sentimental, kinda, because I have all this old crap. And people are like, oh, well, look at you back in the day. Like, you must be, like, think fondly back. And I'm like, no, I don't think fondly back there at all. I look at that and I'm embarrassed. But it is kind of cool to see how far we've come, My last recommendation should be kind of a no-brainer. And really, all it is teach. Teach. Take what you've learned and pass it on to someone else. It will make you better at what you're doing because it helps you think through the process. Doing something that you love, if you take the time to explain it step by step to someone else and then watch them do it, it helps you formulate where you have holes in your program. Like me just trying to teach my daughter how to hit the heavy bag, and I'm explaining it the way I know, like I'm right out of the book, turn your wrist, make sure you all the foot, all that crap, and then watching her do it, and I go, wow, I'm not doing that. It helps me see where I have holes in my program. So working with others, passing on what you've learned, teaching will make you better. I guarantee it. Even if you're just, if you're an intermediate lifter, find somebody that's new and go to the gym with them. Somebody that's interested in your assistance. You don't want to just push your, priceless advice that's unsolicited on people. That's kind of annoying. You don't want to just go up to random people that are not as good as you and tell them they suck and, just start berating them in the gym. No, find someone that's willing to work with you, that wants to learn. That's why I love kids. I have my kids, and I try to teach when they're interested. I try to pass on what I've learned to them. I work with some people that are new to lifting, veterans, that kind of thing. We lift on the weekends. You don't really see them in the videos, but they're often in the background. And it really helps me by teaching them. It helps me be better. So, you can kind of come full circle. You don't need to be an expert to pass on something that you've learned. You really don't. The big thing for me is I always just make sure and present myself honestly. I'll tell somebody, hey, look, this worked for me, but I'm no expert. You could try it out and we'll see how it works for you. That's usually how I do things. However you want to do it, that's on you. But yeah, working with others really, really helps. I think one of the reasons why I had problems with my program is because when COVID shut all the gyms down, I started training alone in a garage, and then YouTube became my de facto training partner, and I started developing some bad habits along the way, and once those are ingrained, it can be really, really difficult to retool those. So staying with other people, working with others is, I think, crucial, or at least super beneficial. If you guys got anything out of this, I know I'm rambling a long time, and the reason why is because at the end here, my daughter's training, and it's 20 minutes. I don't really have 20 minutes of stuff to talk about, but I am so damned proud of her. She is just something else. I get online and you see those young kids boxing, they're awesome. They're badass. They look like they could just beat the crap out of me. That's how good they are. And then I look at my daughter and I'm like, it's hard to compare that. But then if you think about it, those are outliers. That's like one kid in a million. Here's Dad working with his daughter in his garage, just showing her what I've learned. And she's pretty kick-ass. She's getting it down. If she wanted to be a fighter, I have no doubt in my mind that she would be awesome at it. And it's just been a blast to work with her. And that's, so I figured if I need to ramble for 20 minutes so you can see the whole training clip. Anyway, I gotta get to work. I'm already running late. I love you guys. I will see you on the battlefield. Hit the like and subscribe and do all that stuff. Or don't. You know. You don't need to. Did I speak good though?